Today, we're finally going to be finishing the rust repair on the driver's side. If you missed last episode, I cut a bunch of rusty metal out so that I could replace it with the patch panel. We ended the episode by welding in a new floor pan. The only problem is that we still have a large hole down here that needs to get covered up. So let's fix that. Before I welded the floor in, I made a few templates to get the best possible fit. This piece is going to be partially supporting my cab mount, so it's pretty important. I then transferred the template onto some 18 gauge. The fitment was pretty close. It's going to need some trimming later on though. Since the original panel was spot welded in place, I'll be plug welding this one in a similar way. For the plug welds, we're going to drill a bunch of holes into this panel. All these holes will be backed by existing metal on the cab, so that we can weld it. It's pretty standard to use a 1/4 inch hole for a plug weld. I didn't know that at the time though, so I ended up drilling these ones out a little bit smaller. I'm really not too worried about it though. I drilled a lot of these holes pretty close together, so strength should not be an issue here. After I cleaned and deburred the metal, I put a coat of weld-through primer on it. This was also done to the metal on the cab. Now with the panel clamped in place, it's almost time to weld it. I just have to clean every hole that has primer in it. For this, I'll be using a drill bit that I grinded down a little. It's a common misconception that weld-through primer can be, welded through. But in reality, it's meant for panels like this, where one side is being encapsulated or plug welded. The weld-through primer is there to protect it, along with the area around the plug weld. If I was to leave these holes full of primer, it would make striking an arc way harder. Now this is going to be my first time plug welding, so prepare yourself. It's not going to be pretty. There's a few different ways to do plug welds. Some people like to do short bursts, kind of like tacks, until the hole is filled. What I'm going to be doing here is striking my arc in the middle of the hole and then doing a small circle until the hole is completely filled. You can see that there are some spots where I didn't fill it in completely. I did go back and hit those again off camera. Now that I have the blocking plate completely welded in, I need to add a support to the edge of the floor. The original floor was supported on the edge with a flange and some spot welds. This patch panel didn't come with a flange, so we'll have to support the floor with a custom bracket. This is just some leftover 18 gauge that I bent to a 90. I'm planning on plug welding this to that blocking plate and to the bottom of the floor to give it some extra strength. I'm going to have most of the tools and equipment that I'm using linked down below if you're interested in anything. This time I did end up drilling the holes out to a 1/4 inch. Next, a quick coat of weld-through primer was added. Then I used a Sharpie to mark out where I needed to drill the holes in the floor. The test fit looks pretty good. There's a slight gap between the bracket and the floor that I need to close up before I start welding. But before I weld that in, I do just want to add a quick patch over this small hole in my floor. I'm just going to overlap this piece in just because it's easier than butt welding it. It's definitely ugly, but it works. Now it's time to get this small bracket welded in place. Sometimes I manage to make things way harder than they need to be. I spent like 10 minutes trying to figure out how to hold this piece in place while I weld it, and it never dawned on me to just tack the edges. Eventually, I was able to get one plug weld sort of done, and then I realized that I could just tack the edges. But don't worry, it gets worse. Man, I just can't see anything when I'm welding. All these plug welds got hit again off camera, so don't worry, they're fine. I think I'm gonna get some cheater lenses so that I can see better without putting my face in the puddle. Just to make it clear, I'm not going for flush welds here. I'm not so confident that my welds will hold up if I grind them flat, so I'm leaving a decent amount of material behind for strength reasons. Plus, it's a floor. Most of this will never be seen by anyone, except for all of you. With that all done, we can move on to the new cab mount. This e-coat is just meant for shipping purposes, so that the metal doesn't rust. This coating will not hold up to water in the long run, so it's just best to remove it and hit it with some real paint. I started off with a self-etching primer. This primer bites into the metal for a good bond. After that, black paint was applied, which I forgot to record. And lastly, I used that weld through primer in any of the spots that I taped off. 2 holes were then drilled into the side. These holes will be plug welded to that blocking plate from earlier. It's going to be interesting trying to plug weld thick metal to some 18 gauge, but I'll figure it out. I then drilled a bunch of holes in the floor for plug welds. The last thing that I had to do was clean and paint the bottom of the floor. The first spot that I sanded is where the floor support that we patched up in episode 4 sits, so I wanted the welds to be completely flat there. After that, I sanded the patch and surrounding area with some 80 grit so that the primer would stick better. After a quick wipe down, we're ready for paint. I know that I painted over some rust there, but I do plan on scuffing the bottom of this cab and putting Eastwood's rust encapsulator on it. This coat was more to protect everything in the meantime. And the cab mount itself is going to block some of the floor in, so it's best to spray it now. After 5 episodes, it's finally time to weld in this cab mount. That didn't go as planned. It honestly failed miserably. I think a lot of things went wrong here. First of all, I had a lot of trouble getting this mount to line up nicely, so it was a bit janky to begin with. And secondly, I think I just rushed it. My settings definitely needed some more adjusting, and I should have tested them out on some scrap. But that got me thinking, if my welding is questionable, would I trust it to hold up my cab? The answer is no. I would much rather use bolts to hold this in place rather than my welds. Now, this isn't an OEM fix, but it's definitely going to be safer until I improve my welding skills. So I got to drilling out holes in the cab mount. I'm going to be using the same 1/4 inch holes with some 8.8 M6 bolts, which can easily support this cab. Everything seems to fit really good. I will be using the smallest length possible for these bolts. I know that there's some long ones and short ones in this clip, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how it would look all around. Now the only downside with this is that I'll probably feel the bolts through the carpet. Luckily for me, I use thick rubber mats, so I should be fine. To add on to the bad news though, the floor support that we patched up last video doesn't fit good at all to the new floor. I did a test fit with the old floor and it looked close, but with the new floor in place, it's definitely off by a lot. With the old floor, I used a lot of clamps to get it to fit, but now that I think about it, the floor was definitely just flexing to the shape because of the clamps. And on top of that, the rust has come back pretty damn quick. So it's probably better just to fabricate a whole new piece with fresh metal rather than trying to fix this one again. Since I don't have the skill to make this out of one piece of metal, I'm gonna make it out of 3 pieces. A top, a side, and a bottom. The bottom was already made in episode 4. I was just waiting till the cab mount was in before I welded it. Making the top should be easy though, since I could just make a template off the original. I started off by tracing the original onto some cardboard, and then I transferred that onto some 16 gauge. Now the side was a bit more difficult, since I cut that out and replaced it. I don't know what the exact dimensions need to be. I tried to make a template off the passenger side, but it turns out that they're different, so that didn't work. I ended up getting to this point by using the old support and matching it up to the truck over and over again. I then put a few tacks on it to see how it lined up. It fits better than what I'm showing here, it's just hard to position it with one hand. So let's get those pieces welded together. I also ordered those cheater lenses that I was talking about earlier. All this does is magnify whatever you're looking at, so I should have an easier time seeing what I'm doing. And as you can see, it slips right inside the viewing window of the helmet. Hopefully this results in better welds. Now for the actual welding. I'm going to lay a few tacks down and then jump around the panel. This should keep the heat down and allow for less warping. Wow, I did it. Those welds are decent. They might just hold. After that, I trimmed any extra metal off the top so that I can get an accurate fitment. Not too bad. I will need to do a little bit of bending to make this fit better, but it's pretty close. For the bottom, I matched it up to the cab mount a few times to get an idea of where it goes. I really need to get something to scribe the metal with. Normally I use a Sharpie, but I didn't want to contaminate the welds. So I kinda just took a guess here. I laid a few tacks down and did another test fit. It was almost perfect. Only a small piece needed to be hammered straight. After that, I fully welded it. Lastly, I positioned the front piece to a spot that I liked and welded that too. It looks pretty damn good if I say so myself. I then hit this with some paint and did a final fitment check. It looks like it's going to work just fine. I just need to drill some holes into the floor and plug weld it in. I'm going to be welding and seam sealing everything off camera as there's a full week of rain coming my way, and I really don't want to delay this video. But stay tuned for the next one as we're going to take a break from welding and do a much needed engine upgrade. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next one.